Hello, everybody. It is John Pollock alongside Wai Ting here on Friday, January the 21st. Hello, Wai.
Hey, John. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. We're going into this weekend.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Are you excited, Wai? Are you excited? Finally, Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, undisputed heavyweight champion, will be decided on Saturday night at the Honda Center.
I've been counting down the days, since the last fight, since the last event.
Did you cover
Since
events at the Honda Center? Is that a venue you've been to?
I don't think so. I don't think we ever went to LA
No
for.
Ronda fights there?
No, I don't think we got to go. No.
I don't think I have ever gone there. I don't
Hmm.
think, off the
Is
top
it
of my
still
head.
the Honda Center?
It's still the Honda Center, yes.
Oh, okay.
Which was within MMA during those years. It became the Ronda Center because that was where significant, including the Liz Carmouche fight. That's where the Carmouche fight was.
That is
Anyway,
correct.
we are going to be joined by Phil Chertok in a little bit to chat about the UFC 270 card that is coming up Saturday night. But first of all, we're going to go back to Wednesday night where AEW Dynamite had a very big show, highlighted by the returns of Cody Rhodes and Jon Moxley. As well, you had CM Punk and Sting wrestling on the show, and it resulted in 1,032,000 viewers, up 6.5%, while the demo averaging 570,000 from Brandon Thurston and Showbuzz Daily, a .44. So they very narrowly edged out Raw. Yes, Raw had, the massive football game that they were going against. However, that was still a good 18-49 number for Raw on Monday. But nonetheless, Dynamite for Wednesday night among cable programming finished number one ahead of the NBA. So that's a feather in their cap, to say the least. Their female viewership in 18-49 up 26% this week. Females 35-49 up 44% this week. So if Walter didn't draw in the females on Tuesday, I guess Jon Moxley and Cody Rhodes and Sting did.
I suppose so. Yeah, that is wonderful news, and I think continues to lend some credence into the success and the benefit of coming in after the Big Bang Theory.
Yes, for sure. That's, has been certainly a benefit that they have discovered being on TBS. But this was also a show that I think more and more when you have news, I think that is something that typically your audience that will spike more interest. I think like the Jon Moxley thing would have been, a big deal, and strategically announcing that the day prior, not doing it a week out to announce when he was coming back, but instead kind of having that last surge of interest when people are, AEW, it's interesting to watch that they will have a strategy of you lay out matches a week in advance, and then sometimes they will just wait till the eve or the day of to announce one final thing that is going to spur interest of people to watch. And it looked like it definitely worked on Wednesday night. I think being ahead of the NBA, like that's a great sign for Dynamite on Wednesday.
Absolutely. And we'll see if they can keep up the momentum for next week.
Or tonight as well, because we've got, a more than usual loaded up episode of Rampage. Jon Moxley will be having his first match back, taking on Ethan Page. You've also got the Young Bucks in action against Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta. Jade Cargill is going to be defending the TBS championship against Anna Jay. And then it's Friday night. They're bringing out the big gun. Hook will take on Serpentico.
It definitely feels like a bigger Rampage than usual. I mean, much of that is due to Jon Moxley having his big return match on the show. I mean, I don't anticipate the match to go very long. I think we're going to see, a very similar style of a Jon Moxley match, of him ending these matches relatively early. But nonetheless, being able to advertise one of his matches is pretty big. And seeing Jade Cargill, her first defense as TBS champion, we'll see what she can do against somebody like Anna Jay.
Not to just jump all over the place here, but just one final note on the ratings front. Way number one show on cable Wednesday night. Guess what happened to Dynamite in Canada?
It didn't do as well.
Big drop this week, Way. We went from almost 127,000 last week down to 89,000 this week. So I mean, this is the pattern. This is what we can learn. If it's a big show, look out. Canada ain't watching.
Hey, we're not as similar as people think, okay?
Apparently not.
Clearly, with our
No.
Dynamite viewing habits.
I mean, on Wednesday night, to be fair, they were going against not just the Raptors, but the Toronto Maple Leafs were also playing, and that game was like viewed by over 1 million people, which is a significant number in Canada when you're crossing the million viewership mark.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, not a jump here in Canada.
Hey, before we go on, I do want to mention that we are pre-taping this show today, so we're not taking super chats. Basically, that's part of the reason why.
SmackDown tonight is going to be taking place in Nashville, and all we know is that Charlotte Flair will be taking on Naomi.
That is all we know right now. Yeah, so
That's it.
we'll see how this we'll see if this one actually results in an actual match. I think the likely scenario is that we get some shenanigans to lead towards Naomi versus Sonya Deville.
Will we get any reactions?
Plenty of reactions, I'm sure. Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sure.
they should promote the reactions in advance, though. Sonya Deville reacts after Charlotte and Naomi's match.
Well, there's a good question. I mean, is Brock Lesnar going to be on the show, you think?
No, I don't. I don't think he will be. If they're, he's set for the weigh-in on Monday.
Hmm.
I don't think he's advertised for tonight
Yeah.
as best I can tell, and not really a reason for him to be there. Rollins, I could certainly see showing up after the Usos angle to end Raw.
He will react in some way.
Yes. So plenty of reactions to look forward to. Okay, let's chat a bit about GCW's event that is happening on Sunday night at the Hammerstein Ballroom, where it is sold out, and the show, it like there is a lot of star power on this show. It's kind of a mix of sort of your GCW regulars, but a lot of outside talent as well. I would classify Jon Moxley as such, defending his championship against Homicide. You've got the Briscoes. Jeff Jarrett is on this card as well. It's the show that I think is going to have a lot of buzz throughout the weekend. I think the Hall of Fame is going to kind of kick that off. It's a huge weekend for Game Changer Wrestling, and I think like the atmosphere on top of it is going to be phenomenal for this card on Sunday night.
Absolutely. That's the number one. I mean, this very, very much feels like it was. It's more of the news is the fact that the event is happening at all. And I think for the fans that are going to be in attendance, simply realizing that they are going to be a part of something that, I mean, for a small scale show, it feels a lot like, the weekend before All Out for that particular audience. So the atmosphere is going to be very special from the beginning, I'm sure.
I think so. What's what are you personally looking forward to on this card? Whether it's a match or just what is kind of the interest level for your part?
I'm honestly interested in a bit of everything. And that to me is part of the fun of a show like this is the incredible variety that's attached. I'm interested in seeing entrances to a lot of the people that are going to be on this show. I'm really interested in seeing, obviously Jon Moxley coming back, I think is a pretty big deal. He's going to receive a massive ovation on that show. I'm very curious to see Effie's entrance, in a Hammerstein ballroom. I think that'll be fantastic as well. He's going up against Jeff Jarrett, and what the hell is that match going to look like?
They got to live up to these promos that they've been posting, like some great video promos in the lead up to this. They just dropped another one with Jarrett, the original Outlaw.
The Jarrett video is fantastic. Like it is the coolest Jeff Jarrett has ever looked. The fact that like this production team was able to make Jeff Jarrett look like the Undertaker is incredible. Yeah. So that's fantastic, of course. And then some of these like matches, like the multi-man matches, I think are going to be fantastic and have a great chance of stealing the show. Of course, we have Alley Catch versus Ruby Soho as well, which I think will also be really interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah, this is one where I mean it's very stacked the way they have positioned this. I mean, right from like that ladder match is going to be out of this world. PCO, Alex Colon, Tony Deppen, Leo Rush, Jimmy Lloyd, and Jordan Oliver, and that's going to be following just the pre-show where they're going to have a battle royal, in which sounds like they're just going to be putting a ton of like just random figures, mystery people into that battle royal.
a clusterfuck. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the thinking I feel behind the battle royal. And then you also have like a scramble match, which are always insane. So I could see the ladder match going on maybe a little later on. However, I have zero concern about this crowd getting burnt out or anything. I think this is going to be an incredible crowd from start to finish, and it's just going to be nonstop for whatever the window is, how late they go.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And of course, we'll have a review from John Pine on the site. He'll be attending the show live. John Cena, I believe, will also be on the show live. And then on Monday, we'll even try to get John Pine on to talk about his experience being there, won't we?
Yes. He won't actually be doing the report on Sunday. I will be doing that, but
Oh,
yes,
you are. Okay.
we will have plenty of coverage on the show or on the site Sunday, and yes, both. John Pine will be there Sunday night and will join us on Monday. But before we wrap up, we are going to be discussing Saturday night's card. It is the UFC 270 pay-per-view event, and we will bring in Phil Chertok now, the man that I will be doing the post-show with on Saturday. And there is Phil Chertok, live from Canada, as you can see.
Yes, I don't know if you guys know, but it's pretty cold outside.
Is it cold inside?
It's cold inside as well. I can feel it coming off the window.
Well, it's going to be hot in Anaheim on Saturday night because we are going to be getting Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane. At last check, Phil, fights falling off left and right from this card. I think we're down to 10 fights now on this show. And I think that this is an interesting show in the sense that you could certainly argue the top two heavyweights in the world. If you want to include Stipe in that mix, you can, but I think you can easily make the argument these are the two top heavyweights fighting. It's a great main event. It's also the first event in ESPN Plus's new price increase as well. So you look at this card, I mean, you have two title fights, and there is a drop-off after that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And even the second title fight, that is a fight that we've seen twice in the last year. So even though it's a great fight, there's not as much intrigue. This really is a fight card.
You're buying it for the main event. Like this is like you are buying it for the main event, and hopefully you get some great fights underneath. But in terms of star power, yeah, you are really reliant on this one fight. And Phil, do you think that is enough when you have a fight that people want to see? Is there going to be a price that scares people off if they are? Is this fight that is not going to be an obstacle?
I don't think that this fight is going to be that fight that drives enough people off. I mean, a lot of this price increase, it's like a numbers game. It's like the total subscriber base increases for ESPN. Maybe they lose a few percentage points, but the overall revenue goes up. So maybe there will definitely be some people who choose not to get this card because of the price increase, but I don't think it's going to be significant. This is a big time heavyweight fight. You've got Ngannou, who hasn't crossed over as like a big time star, but in the MMA world, he's must see TV with his knockout power. And then all the drama around the contract status and their prior relationship makes this a lot more intriguing than a typical UFC heavyweight title fight, which in the Stipe Cormier era, it was great, but historically, it hasn't been the most exciting championship division.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic fight. I'm really looking forward to this fight. And yeah, you mentioned like kind of the very interesting set of circumstances Francis Ngannou is under. The reports that are out there that if he loses this fight, this would complete his UFC contract, whereas a victory kicks in his champions clause and then it will roll over for several more fights. And Francis Ngannou has not been shy about his discontent in the UFC and raising, the awareness about his own fighter pay. And you also have a backstory between these two that I think has been, at times maybe overblown. Certainly Ngannou has kind of like tempered it down. Like, yes, we had some training sessions together, but to call us training partners is kind of amplifying what our history is.
Absolutely. I mean, you get little snippets of sparring footage gets leaked online, and that becomes like the story of like their entire history of training together. A lot of it also, I think, stems from that viral video where Ngannou no-sold Cyril at backstage at a UFC event a few months ago. So that generated a lot of sort of chatter. But yeah, I don't think that there's too much to be made from the fact that these two were training partners in the past.
I think like Francis's last fight against Stipe Miocic, we haven't seen him since March when he won the title, but I thought like that was the most complete performance we saw out of Francis Ngannou. And, you know, prior to that fight, you would say that, you know, you get Francis out of that first round, he is more vulnerable, but that wasn't the case against Stipe Miocic. Do you think that it's not fair to just look at Francis Ngannou? Certainly this man has incredible power, but did you see more in that last fight that would suggest like there are more dimensions to look at from Ngannou?
Oh, there's definitely more dimensions. I mean, the most obvious was just his ability to defend the wrestling. He stayed on his feet, and that, you know, that was a massive. That was why in the first fight he was so drained. He was still around in the 5th round against Stipe the first time, but he was exhausted, and that was because he was out wrestled continuously. Along with that, he showed a lot of poise. He picked his shots. He didn't just jump in there with his firepower. And I think that's a crucial element, because if he jumps in there against Cyril, he's going to get countered. So he definitely needs to be patient here and time Cyril, who's a master of range. So very intriguing.
What are you looking at specific from Cyril Gane in terms, like, I think many will look at him as like the more well-rounded fighter, but there's, you know, I think like this is, you know, not just a significant test for Cyril Gane, but I think we're going to learn a lot about him as well. You mentioned like that range aspect, like that's something that, you know, you fall into that trap. This man will be put to sleep, I think.
I think that is his greatest attribute, is his ability to manage the range. He gets in, he gets out, and he doesn't really take damage in the process. And if Ngannou gets flustered, then I could see him making a mistake and you know, stepping into that range or not circling out properly. And also, you know, Gane can do this over 5 rounds. He can stay disciplined. He can circle on the outside. It doesn't always make for the most exciting fight, but it's incredibly effective, and he takes no damage doing it. So I think that that's the biggest concern. Cyril's footwork and his ability to manage the distance. If he's circling on the outside, Ngannou's going to need to figure out a way to cut off the cage.
Most importantly, we are finally going to get a conclusion about this long road towards an undisputed heavyweight champion. We have gone through all of this. I mean, remember, it was all the way back. I remember the days in March of 2021 when Ngannou became that champion. And since then, it's been, you know, we needed an interim championship in there. All of it comes to a close on Saturday night. Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo, as you mentioned, this is their 3rd fight, and it's their 3rd fight in the course of 13 months. They fought to the majority draw in December of 2020, and then Moreno defeating Figueiredo for the championship at UFC 263, stopping him in the 3rd round. He's significantly younger. I think when you're looking at a flyweight in Figueiredo that is 34 years of age, you have to be looking at his speed and how that's going to be impacted year over year. Do you see Brandon Moreno as a clear favorite in this fight, or do you think that this is going to be a razor close fight, kind of how the first fight went?
I think that Moreno should be a clear favorite because he dominated so much in the second fight, and he was the one who showed improvements from the first fight to the second fight, whereas Figueiredo went backwards. Now, that being said, there was a whole bunch of issues around the weight cut, and I'm curious to see what happens with Figueiredo here. So if you told me it was a razor thin fight again, that wouldn't surprise me, but I do think that Moreno deserves the respect of being a favorite in this one because, you know, the first fight, even though it was a draw, and maybe you could say you thought Figueiredo won, it was super close. The second one wasn't close at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a 125-pound division that it's, you know, the fact that we are getting this fight for the 3rd time in such a short window, I think it tells you not so much just the options at flyweight, but it's also like they are desperate for stars at flyweight, and I think this is kind of going to be their lot, is that you are not going to see a flyweight championship fight headline a pay-per-view, but they seem to have this edict of title fights on pay-per-views. This is going to be your best case scenario. Pair it with something larger.
Yeah, I think of everybody in the division right now, Moreno is the one who has the most sort of star appeal, broad star appeal. So if he's able to continue to defend his title, perhaps he can draw a larger audience and headline a pay-per-view down the line. But yeah, right now the division certainly, even though it's filled with incredible talent,
there's a lot of great fighters at this weight class. Yeah. Like Kai Kara France, I'm sure that is someone that they are probably hopeful has, continues to have.
He's booked. I think he's booked against Askar Askarov.
Yeah,
in his
that would be the
fight, right?
That would produce the next contender, you would assume, unless we're going to get a fourth fight between these two.
Let's hope not.
I mean, the rest of this card, I mean, there is not a whole lot to glean from here. I was interested to see Rodolfo Vieira, but he's off the card. So that fight is
that was the name I had circled. I knew you were going to ask me what else. So maybe.
I mean, as you're looking at, like, Said Nurmagomedov is fighting on the main card here. If you're judging,
is Charles Jourdain still on the card?
No, that fight is also off of about an hour ago. So yeah, we're down to the nitty gritty.
Matt Frivola.
I mean, if you're sitting down and you're on the fence about this card and you're weighing your purchase based on like this 5-fight pay-per-view main card, this is not a pay-per-view card. It's a pay-per-view main event, but I will not call this a pay-per-view card. Like, this is extremely thin. This is like a Conor McGregor main card.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, if it wasn't for this, if this heavyweight fight were scrapped, you'd wonder if they could even continue with this card.
Yes. And I know that what we'll hear on Saturday night, don't judge a card until you see it. Well, that's when you are making a purchase, you are judging a card beforehand. You are asking yourself, who am I familiar with? What fights do I want to see? You are making that judgment ahead of time, not looking after the fact of, will these be good fights or not? So anyway, I always hate that argument. It's silly. When you're trying to sell it to people, they're making the judgment ahead of time of, do I want to see these fighters fight? Anyway, we will be live on Saturday night. Phil and I, will you be all decked out on Saturday night for the post show?
I'll do something. I'll have a different change of attire. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit milder weather. So,
well, let our viewers and listeners know where they can be during UFC 270, because there's only one place to be, and that is the Post Wrestling Discord.
Yes. Like most UFC fight cards, we are running predictions in the Discord, in the MMA channel. Our colleague, the wonderful Eric Marcotte, has been running these fight predictions. And so you can go on there, and 2 minutes before a fight starts, a little poll will show up and you can select who you think will win. And that will give you some points that on a leaderboard. And we track the leaderboard throughout the year. Eric was the best predictor last year. This year, we've changed the rules a little bit. So main events are worth more. So if you miss the incredible fights on the early portion of the card, you can still make it up with good predictions on the main card and in the main event.
Yes. So if you miss on Matt Frivola, you can make it all up with Brandon Moreno or Francis Ngannou. Are you going to be so? No, you know what? I'm not going to ask you for your picks. You can log into the Discord and find out Phil's picks as the fights are happening. And then as soon as the main event ends, Phil and I will be going live right here on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. So hop on over. It's free to view. And we will be going through the entire card. We'll let you know what you missed on the undercard if you are not tuning in. And we will, of course, break down the championship fights as well. So I'm looking forward to it, Phil. It's been a while since we have done a show together.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, even last week's card that was not a great card, had a very good main event.
Great main event.
I know it didn't do well on television ratings because it was going against the NFL, but from the Discord, and I feel like the MMA world, there was a lot of buzz because there was all this built up anticipation. It had been over a month since the last UFC card. And so people were happy to have fights back. And I think the same is going to be true this weekend.
All right. Well, all of that is happening. The UFC 270 post show on Saturday night. And then Wai and I will be back on Monday with a whole review of the WRLD on GCW event. That is going to wrap things up. Tune in to Rewind to SmackDown tonight. It will be Wai Ting and Kate from Montreal live at 11 p.m. 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time for Double Double, Ice Cap, and Espresso patrons. All patrons can tune in tonight to Rewind to SmackDown. And that is it for your post-daily news show.